You did it. You broke the chains. You walked through fire, and you survived the addiction, the toxic bond, the years lost in servitude to something that consumed you from within. You finally escaped. So why does freedom feel like grief? Why do you stand in the middle of your own victory and feel nothing but a hollow ache where the struggle used to be? Nobody warned you about this. They celebrated your liberation. They told you the hard part was over. They lied. Not out of malice, out of ignorance, because almost no one who speaks of victory has walked the road that comes after it. But Tolkien did. He walked it, and he wrote the map. There is a chapter in The Lord of the Rings that most readers pass over too quickly. The chapter where Frodo returns home and discovers that home no longer exists, not because it was destroyed, but because he was no longer the person who left it. What Tolkien buried in that chapter explains exactly why you feel the way you feel right now. There are wounds the ring leaves behind that no celebration can heal. And in this video, I shall name each one. You will learn why the most dangerous moment in your entire journey is not the battle, but the silence that follows it. You will understand why certain people disappeared from your life the instant you became free, and why new shadows, subtler than the last, are circling you at this very hour. And there is a fifth revelation, hidden in Tolkien's own letters, that may be the most unsettling of all. The reason you cannot go back to who you were is not a tragedy, it is the design. If you found this video, it is because you have already done what most never will. You destroyed the ring. But the journey does not end at Mount Doom. It ends at the Grey Havens. And unless you understand what lies between those two shores, the freedom you fought for may become a prison of its own. Let us begin. The wound beneath the crown. You survived. Let there be no doubt about this. Whatever your ring was, the addiction that stole your years, the relationship that fed upon your spirit, the servitude to a life that was never truly yours, you walked into the fire of Mount Doom, and you came out the other side. That is no small thing. Kingdoms have fallen for less. Souls far older than yours have surrendered at the very threshold where you chose to endure. You did what most will never do. You let go of the thing that was destroying you, even though it had become the only world you knew. But here you stand, and the trumpets have not sounded. The fields of Cormellan are silent. Where you expected relief, you found a hollow ache. Where you expected peace, you found a strange, nameless grief, as though something had been torn from you, and the wound it left behind refuses to close. You look at your own freedom and feel nothing, or worse, you feel loss. And because no one warned you that this was coming, you have begun to wonder whether something is wrong with you, whether the battle broke something that cannot be mended, whether you were stronger as a prisoner than you are as a free soul. Listen to me carefully. Nothing is wrong with you. What you are feeling has a name, and Tolkien knew it with a precision that still haunts every reader who pays close enough attention. When Frodo stood at the crack of doom and the ring was finally destroyed, Tolkien did not write a scene of triumph. He wrote a scene of collapse. Frodo did not raise his fist in victory. He lay upon the edge of the abyss, spent, hollow, staring at a hand that was now missing a finger. That finger would never grow back. That is not a detail of the plot. It is the architecture of truth. The ring does not leave cleanly. It takes something with it on the way out, a piece of your identity, a piece of the pain that had become so familiar it felt like a companion. And there is a deeper wound still, one that Tolkien wove into Frodo's body with agonizing deliberateness. Do you remember the Morgul blade? On Weathertop, long before Mount Doom, a shard of that cursed blade broke off inside Frodo's shoulder. It was removed. He was healed. He continued the quest. Yet every year, on the anniversary of that wound, the pain returned, not as a memory, as a living thing. Tolkien wrote that Frodo would turn pale, seem to look through the walls of the world, and withdraw into a silence no one around him could reach. This is you. The ring is gone, but the blade fragment remains. The scar tissue of what you endured does not vanish simply because you escaped. It aches on certain nights, in certain silences, when certain memories surface uninvited. And here is what no one told you. This is not weakness. This is the wound beneath the crown. Every king who ever reigned carried one. Frodo carried his to the very end. Tolkien once wrote, in a letter that most scholars pass over too quickly, that Frodo's failure at the crack of doom his momentary inability to release the ring, was not a moral collapse. It was proof that no mortal creature could have withstood that burden and emerged unscathed. The wound was not a punishment. It was a receipt. It was the proof of purchase for a freedom that cost everything. If your hand still aches where the ring used to sit, do not hide it. Do not pretend the scar is not there. You are not broken. You are marked. And in the economy of the spirit, scars are the currency of authority. No unmarked soul has the right to speak of war. I want to see where the members of this fellowship are gathered tonight. Write the name of your city below. Let us see how far this flame has reached across the earth. But the wound on your hand is not the greatest danger you face now. There is something far more treacherous waiting for the hero who returns home. And Tolkien gave it an entire chapter that most readers misunderstand completely. A chapter that Peter Jackson chose to remove from his films, and in doing so, hid from millions the most important warning Tolkien ever wrote for people like you. The Scouring of Your Shire. There is a chapter in The Return of the King called The Scouring of the Shire. If you have only watched the films, you have never encountered it. Peter Jackson removed it entirely, believing audiences wanted the story to end with the coronation and the homecoming. But Tolkien knew better. Tolkien knew that the real ending, the painful one, the true one, was not the crowning of Aragorn. It was Frodo walking through the door of Bag End and realizing that the home he fought to protect had become unrecognizable. When the hobbits return to the Shire, they find it ravaged. Saruman, diminished but still venomous, has taken up residence in their homeland. The trees have been cut down, the water is fouled, petty rules govern every corner of daily life. The neighbors who once lived in simple joy now walk with their eyes cast downward, afraid of speaking too loudly. The Shire has not been destroyed by a great battle. It has been slowly, bureaucratically suffocated. The evil is not dramatic, it is mundane. And that is precisely what makes it so devastating. This is the chapter Tolkien wrote for you. You destroyed your ring. You walked back into your life expecting to find it as you left it. The same friendships, the same rhythms, the same sense of belonging, but something has shifted. The conversations that once nourished you now feel thin. The people who once understood you now stare as though you speak a foreign tongue. You sit at the same table, in the same room, with the same faces, and you are utterly, mercilessly alone. Not because they have rejected you, but because you have become someone they cannot reach. Tolkien understood this because he lived it. Before he was the author of Middle-earth, he was a soldier in the trenches of the Somme. He watched his closest friends die in the mud of the First World War, and when he came home to England, to his own Shire, he found a country that had moved on, a country that preferred not to speak of what had happened, a country that expected its returning soldiers to simply resume the lives they had left behind. In a letter to his son Christopher, who was himself fighting in the Second World War, Tolkien wrote about this alienation with a rawness that cuts through the decades. He knew the Scouring of the Shire was not fantasy, it was autobiography. And here is the truth that will either break you or set you free. The Shire did not change because it was attacked. The Shire changed because you changed. You went to Mordor. You carried fire on your back. You looked into the eye and did not flinch. And now you expect to return to a world built for people who have never left the borders of their own comfort? That world cannot hold you any longer. It is not the Shire's fault. It is not your fault. It is the nature of transformation. Frodo understood this before anyone else did. During the Scouring, whilst Merry and Pippin rallied the hobbits and fought with swords, Frodo barely raised his hand. He did not fight, not because he was weak, but because his war was already over. His battlefield was behind him. What remained was not a war to be won, but a grief to be carried. He had outgrown the Shire, and every step he took upon its soil reminded him of that fact. If you are living this, if you returned to your life after your great battle and found that nothing fits, do not force yourself back into the old shape. You are not failing to readjust. You are not ungrateful. You are simply too large for a world you once called home. And this is not the end of your story. It is the most painful middle. But do not be deceived into thinking the war is over simply because the ring is gone. There are enemies who specialize in the moment after victory, and Tolkien gave them a name. The Shire was not attacked by Sauron. It was colonized by Saruman, and the Sarumans of your life are already moving. The Sarumans of the Empty Throne. Here is a truth that Tolkien wove into the very structure of his mythology. A truth so uncomfortable that most readers glide past it without stopping. The greatest danger is not the Dark Lord on his throne. It is the lesser enemy who waits for the Dark Lord to fall. Sauron was the great shadow. He commanded the armies, forged the ring, and bent the world toward his will. But when the ring was destroyed and Sauron dissolved into nothing, who moved in? Not another Dark Lord, something far more insidious. Saruman, the fallen wizard, the corrupted counselor, did not attempt to conquer all of Middle-earth. He did not raise a vast army. He crept into the Shire, the smallest and most unguarded place, and he began to rule through whispers, regulations, and the slow erosion of joy. This is the pattern of your life right now, and you must see it clearly. The moment you destroyed your ring, the moment you finally broke free from the addiction, the toxic relationship, the pattern of self-destruction, a throne inside you became vacant. That throne had been occupied for years, perhaps decades. The ring sat there, governing your hours, your thoughts, your energy, your identity. And now it is empty. You would think that an empty throne is freedom. But Tolkien knew the truth. An empty throne is an invitation. There are 3 Sarumans that move toward the hero in the season after liberation. Learn their faces now, before they reach your door. The first is the replacement addiction. This is perhaps the most cunning of all because it arrives disguised as reward. You suffered for so long. Surely you deserve a little comfort now? A little excess? This new habit, this new substance, this new compulsion is different from the last one. It is lighter, softer, less dangerous. Or so it whispers. But Tolkien showed us that Saruman was once Saruman the White, the highest of the wizards, the noblest in rank. Corruption does not always look like corruption. Sometimes it looks like a well-earned rest that slowly becomes a new cage. The throne is filled before you notice the coronation took place. The second is the false counselor. When you were in chains, certain people kept a comfortable distance. But now that you are free, now that you carry the credibility of someone who has survived, they return. They offer guidance, they offer partnership. They offer the kind of help that, if you look closely, requires you to need them indefinitely. Saruman did not conquer the Shire by force. He made himself essential. He reorganized the systems, controlled the resources, and ensured that every hobbit depended on his machinery. The false counselor does the same. They insert themselves into the architecture of your new life until removing them feels impossible. The third, and Tolkien would say the most dangerous, is the nostalgia trap. This is the voice that whispers in your lowest hours that the prison was safer than the wilderness. At least when you carried the ring, you knew who you were. At least the pain was familiar. At least you had a purpose, even if that purpose was merely survival. This voice tells you that freedom is too vast, too cold, too uncertain. It tells you to go back. It paints your former chains in golden light. Tolkien gave us the perfect image for this. The dead marshes, that swamp of ghostly faces preserved beneath the water, beautiful and terrible, reaching up to drag the living down into the company of the dead. Your past will try to seduce you with the faces of who you used to be. Do not follow them beneath the surface. These 3 Sarumans do not announce themselves. They do not arrive at your gate with banners. They seep in through the cracks of your weariness, through the gaps in your attention, through the moments when you are too tired to keep watch. As Tolkien wrote, the treacherous are ever distrustful, and by the same measure, the most dangerous enemies are those who appear the least threatening. Now you see the enemies, but seeing them is not enough. You must know what to protect. There are 5 things inside you that are more vulnerable now than at any other point in your journey, and if you do not raise your walls, the Sarumans of your life will take them without a fight. The 5 walls of the returning king. You have named the wound. You have seen the Shire as it truly is. You have identified the enemies circling your empty throne. But knowledge alone will not save you. If discernment were sufficient, Denethor would not have burned alive on his own pyre. He saw much through the Palantir, yet his seeing only fed his despair. You must now move from sight to strategy. You must raise walls. Aragorn did not become king of Gondor the day the ring was destroyed. He became king the day he learned to protect what he had been given. The war demanded one kind of strength. The crown demands another. Fighting is loud and visceral, but building is patient, silent, and far more difficult. What follows are the 5 walls you must raise in this season of reconstruction. The 5 domains you must guard with the same ferocity with which you once fought the ring itself. The first wall. Protect your new silence. When the ring's voice finally stops, when the addiction no longer screams, when the toxic presence is finally gone, you will encounter a silence so vast it terrifies you. Every instinct will tell you to fill it with noise, with distraction, with people, with activity, with anything that drowns out the emptiness. Resist this with everything you have. That silence is not emptiness. It is the first clean air your soul has breathed in years. Frodo, after the destruction of the ring, spoke less and less. Not because he had less to say, but because he had finally understood the weight of words. Your silence is sacred ground. Do not surrender it to anyone who cannot honor it. The second wall. Protect your right to grieve what hurt you. This is the wall that shames most people into silence. You are allowed to mourn the ring. You are allowed to grieve the addiction, the relationship, the identity that was killing you. Grief for your captor is not betrayal. It is proof of how deeply the chains were woven into your flesh. When Gollum fell into the fire of Mount Doom, clutching the ring in his final ecstasy, Frodo did not celebrate. He had pitied Gollum throughout the journey, because he understood, with a clarity no one else possessed, that the line between bearer and slave is thinner than the world imagines. If you weep for what you lost, even if what you lost was destroying you, do not let anyone tell you those tears are wrong. Gandalf said it plainly. I will not say, do not weep, for not all tears are an evil. The third wall. Protect the story of your war. When you return from Mordor, you will meet people who attempt to rewrite your battle into a sentence. You should be over it by now. It was not that bad. At least it is finished. These are worm tongues of the reconstruction, and their words are designed, consciously or not, to reduce the enormity of what you survived into something manageable and forgettable. The hobbits returned to a Shire that had no language for what they had endured. No one in Hobbiton could fathom the mines of Moria, the slopes of Mount Doom, the Eye of Sauron, and so the hobbits carried their story largely in silence, sharing it only with those who had walked the same road. Guard your story. It is not for everyone. The fourth wall. Protect your pace of rebuilding. Minas Tirith was not rebuilt in one season. After the war, the White City stood scarred and broken, and Aragorn did not demand instant restoration. He waited. He governed the ruins with patience. And upon the slopes of Mindalluin, he found the sapling of the White Tree, the sign of renewal, not because he searched frantically, but because he walked in stillness and let it reveal itself. Your rebuilding has its own rhythm. Do not accept anyone else's timeline for your healing. The tree blooms when the season is right, not when the crowd demands flowers. The fifth wall. And listen closely, for this is the one the enemy fears most. Protect your permission to become someone new. You will never be the person you were before the ring. That person is gone. And every attempt to resurrect them will fail, because you are trying to pour an ocean into a cup that was built for a stream. Frodo knew this. In his final months in the Shire, he began writing the Red Book, the account of his journey. He was not trying to return to his old self. He was trying to understand the new one. Give yourself that same grace. You are not the hobbit who left Bag End. You are the one who returned from fire, and the world has not yet seen what you are becoming. If you know exactly what I am describing, if you have felt this emptiness after a victory, write in the comments, I survived the ring. 3 words, that is all. Let me know you are here. These 5 walls will hold the line whilst you rebuild. But there is one final truth that Tolkien carried with him all his life, something he confided in his letters, something that answers the deepest question of your post-war soul. Why can I not simply go home? The answer is not what you expect, and it may be the most liberating thing you hear in this entire video. The Grey Havens, your next shore. We have come to the place where all roads converge. You have named the wound beneath the crown. You have understood why the Shire no longer fits. You have seen the Sarumans circling your empty throne, and you have raised the 5 walls of your reconstruction. But one question remains, the question that has haunted you since the moment the ring fell into the fire. If I cannot go back to who I was, where do I go? Tolkien answered this question in the final pages of The Lord of the Rings, in a scene so quietly devastating that many readers do not grasp its meaning until the 3rd or 4th reading. Frodo goes to the Grey Havens. He boards a white ship. He sails into the west toward the Undying Lands, Valinor, leaving behind the Shire, his friends, his entire world. To the casual reader, this looks like an ending. To many, it looks like defeat, the hero, broken by his quest, retreating into exile. But Tolkien was emphatic that this was neither ending nor defeat. In letter 246, one of the most revealing documents Tolkien ever wrote, he explained that Frodo's journey to the west was a special grace, not a death, but a healing. Frodo was not running from Middle-earth. He was answering a call that only those who had borne the deepest wounds could hear. The Undying Lands were not a grave. They were the only place where the Morgul wound, the scar of the ring, and the weight of everything he had carried could finally be healed. Valinor was not the end. It was the shore beyond the shore. This is the truth that the introduction of this video promised you, and here it is, laid bare. You cannot go home, because home was never the destination. The Shire was the beginning. Mordor was the forge, but the Grey Havens are where purpose reveals itself. Your inability to return to the old life is not a malfunction. It is the design. It is the architecture of a transformation so complete that the old walls simply cannot contain it. You were not broken by the journey. You were outgrown by it. Tolkien understood this not merely as a storyteller, but as a man. He spent his entire life between worlds, between the trenches of the Somme and the quiet halls of Oxford, between the horrors he had witnessed and the beauty he dared to create. He knew that some experiences do not allow return. They only allow departure towards something greater, and he gave that truth to Frodo as a final gift. But Tolkien left us one more detail, a detail that transforms the Grey Havens from melancholy into hope. Frodo does not sail alone. Gandalf is with him. Galadriel is with him. Bilbo, frail and ancient, is with him. The journey into the unknown is not made in isolation. It is made in the company of those who understand. And here, in this detail, Tolkien offers you the eucatastrophe, the sudden, joyful turn hidden inside what appears to be a farewell. You are not alone on your ship. There are others who have borne the ring's weight and survived. There are others who know exactly why freedom burns before it soothes. This video, this moment, this fellowship, we are the ship, and the Grey Havens are not behind us. They are ahead. Do not mourn the Shire you cannot return to. It served its purpose. It gave you roots so that you could grow strong enough to be uprooted. Do not mourn the person you were before the ring. That person delivered you to the fire so that this person, the one listening now, the one who survived, could emerge. As Tolkien wrote with a simplicity that contains the entire weight of his mythology, the world is indeed full of peril, and in it there are many dark places. But still there is much that is fair. And though in all lands love is now mingled with grief, it grows, perhaps, the greater. The shadow is but a small and passing thing. There is light and high beauty forever beyond its reach. Before we close, I wish to make a declaration over your life. May the wounds of your war become the wells from which others drink courage. May you have wisdom to guard your silence and strength to walk away from every voice that tries to drag you back into the dead marshes. May the 5 walls you raise tonight stand firm through every season of reconstruction, and may the Grey Havens you are sailing toward be more beautiful than anything the Shire could have offered you. If this message has reached the place in your spirit where the wound still aches, subscribe to this channel. Not as a casual gesture, but as an oath. You are joining a fellowship of those who refuse to let the shadow have the final word. Share this video with that one soul who also survived the ring and is now standing in the ruins of their Shire, wondering why victory hurts. They need to know they are not alone. They need to know the Grey Havens await. May the stars shine upon your path until our next meeting. The journey continues, and the ship is waiting. Amen.